Entering into our live studio. We'll be beginning this production momentarily, so make yourself comfortable, place those papers in front of you, and it will make a little bit more sense here shortly, okay?
Alright, first of all, I want to go ahead and introduce you to Team Vision. We have Jeffrey Wapner, Leo Herring, who is no longer with us. He was a member of the Marine Corps that got cut in the second session. Carol Ward is not working. There we go. Tori Grant, Vicki Arakawa, Amanda Grohl, and Katie Lienga, who she was with us the very first session and wasn't with us after that. She got promoted, and so she's with us for about 2 weeks, and that was it. And then she was off. All right, first I'm going to go over our team dynamics with you guys. From the beginning, we basically had the full participation of our group. We all learned to trust very quickly, which is something that is usually pretty difficult. The reason that we learned to trust so quickly was because we had open communication with one another, and we had clear, understood roles from the beginning as well. We made sure that we talked openly with one another and made sure that we all understood when and where we stood when we had difficult times with one another. Because there were times whenever we had conflict and we faced it head on with one another. We sat down as a group and we discussed it and said, you know, look, I really didn't appreciate when you did this, and this is how it made me feel. And in the future, I would like to maybe address it in a different way. And the other person would say, well, okay, I apologize for making you feel that way, and maybe next time we will address it in a different manner. We had to completely and totally redefine our roles several times due to the fact that we lost members twice. So we did this through bi-weekly reviews, and we discussed our progress at those meetings. So we learned how to redefine our roles almost as experts, because we had things planned out and then we had to go back and redo it twice. We, of course, all of us in this room are willing to take risks, or we wouldn't be here. We all filled out the paperwork, and some of us, this program was actually competitive to get in, so we had to fill out an application, send in resumes, and compete to get into this course. So you had to actually put yourself out there and take a risk in order to get here. So all of us on our team were willing to take that risk, and we're here. We all have learned from our mistakes on several occasions, for both professionally and personally. And we had early balance, both socially and professionally. We did that basically by going out and getting to know each other, and by sharing experiences socially and professionally with one another. Our team process was pretty simple. I'm going to go through this relatively quickly because I don't want to bore you with the details. But in August, through our first session, our objective was basically to get to know our team members relatively quickly. So the way we did that was we went out to eat lunch and dinner. So we got to know each other socially. We told each other about our family members. We told each other about our kids, our spouses. We told each other about our jobs, what we do in our jobs. We taught each other dance moves that some of us actually do dance. And so we learned dance moves, and we got on each other's Facebook pages. We set up our first meeting, we set up as a go-to meeting. I don't know if some of you are familiar with that. We learned quickly that that was not going to work for our team because of security settings on some of our computers. So we ended up doing conference calls and emails like most of the other teams have explained. In our first 2 weeks, that's when we lost Katie. And luckily luckily she was our first actually team lead. So we didn't have to rearrange that schedule, just all of our team roles for our committee, or for our skit. We had to change it. So in September, we continued on with our conference calls bi-weekly, communicating through emails, and continue to talk about our team project and our individual progress. There was several of us that didn't have buy-in from our team leaders at work and from our peers at work. So we continue to try to give each other support through those networks and say, hey, you know what? We're here to support you. We're going to do what we can to help. Is there anything I can do to help? Same thing in October. Basically went on with the biweekly conference calls and progress notes as we went into things. In November, it got kind of sticky because we ended up with all the holidays in there. It was getting close to Thanksgiving and Christmas. Everybody was going crazy, and we had the second session come up. Our second session actually was a challenge for our team. I don't know if any of you all faced the same challenge, but some of us were kind of in a funk during the second session, and we faced a lot of, I don't know if it was negativity is the best word to use for it during this period for us, but our focus was to get as much of this presentation done as possible. And we weren't as productive in the second session as we had hoped to be because of some of the conflict that we had. Once again, we did face it head on. We were very aggressive in trying to set it down and say, hey, you know what, you're being negative and you are not being a part of this team. You know, there's no I in team and you need to get it together. And we were also very much forthcoming with, hey, you know what, I'm just not in it this week. I don't know what's going on, but I just don't feel it. And so we were able to overcome that as well, and we got lunch out and dinner out a few times. We didn't go out as much this time. We just weren't, like I said, we weren't being a team in the second session, but we got it back together. This is when we found out that Leo was not coming back. So we went back home. Our bi-weekly conference calls kind of changed a little bit in this session because of Christmas. Of course, none of us were thinking about the new leader program during Christmas. Sorry to disappoint, Greg, but all of us were thinking more about our kids and Santa Claus and, oh my God, when is this going to be over? Instead of, what am I going to do with the new leader program? So when January and February rolled around, it was time to get busy. We wanted to make sure we got all of our final program stuff in. We wanted to make sure everything was happening for the class and wanted to make sure that everything was turned in. So here we are. It's February, and guess what? We're graduating. Hopefully all of you have gotten that email that said all of your homework assignments have been turned in and accepted, and all you have left is your final presentation. I know when I got that, I was just like, woohoo, I'm going to graduate. But
Can I put a call for you on that? If you did not get one, this is Tedessa's track, then just check Blackboard, because that is you're up to date. So if you don't get the official email, don't sweat it. Just look at Blackboard. Okay?
Well, when you do get it, it's a great feeling. Or when you see it on the blackboard. So anyway, good afternoon. I'm your co-host, Argument Amanda. I just want to introduce you to America's Got Leadership, and I want to go on and bring out our co-host, Judgmental Jeff.
Hey, everybody, how we doing? Well, welcome back. You're in for an exciting season for America's Got Leadership. And those of you who are only tuning in for the first time, just as aggravating Amanda told us, I am Judgmental Jeff. Okay, we have scoured the country, looking for the best and brightest leaders and put hidden cameras into each and every one of their establishments to capture them demonstrating proper leadership skills. And the best part of America is you decide if America's got leadership. And for those in our studio audience, you will see that you have a yes and a no there right in front of you. If you could wave those at me right now. Okay, thank you. Now, this is how this is going to work for you, those in the audience. I'm going to ask you a simple question. Like, did everybody think this is the best hotel that they've ever stayed in? And you can, we have an amazing amount of no's. Now, this is how this is going to work. Ma'am, if I may ask you, could you please stand and state your name? Claudette, thank you, and welcome to the show. And now, what do you do, Claudette?
I'm a management assistant.
Okay, well, thank you. Now, why did you answer no to that question?
Well, because I have been in various hotels. I had the hardest time trying to find a place.
Okay, so it was something to do with finding the place. Okay, well, thank you so much, Claudette. And thank you for joining us this afternoon, okay? Now, this is how it's going to work. We're going to show you 3 different scenarios. And you will be voting to decide which is the best outcome. Okay, America, apparently we are having some technical difficulties. But we're going to work those things out right now. Okay, so sit back, relax, and get ready for the show.
Go ahead.
Black Friday. I know it's going to be a day of just obnoxious customers, and I know they're just going to make a mess in the store.
The last iPad. Oh my gosh, is this an iPad? Get your hands off me. I had it first. Lady in line for dates. You lady with the roller. Give it to me. Lady with the hat. Give it to me.
This is mine.
It's mine.
What's going on
This
here?
is mine.
What?
It's mine. I had it first. She's trying to steal it from me.
Really?
Yes, really.
Oh, hey, I know you.
You gotta be kidding me.
Sad. You were just wonderful.
Oh, I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
What is going on?
Can you believe the nerves of this lady? I have been standing in this line.
I had it
I
first.
don't believe it. She is the president.
That's
of
right, the president.
What's the deal?
Oh my God.
Are you taking have to do with this?
Are you crazy or something?
No, she's crazy. She's crazy with her.
You know what? I just can't believe it. I think I'm just going to have to call security.
Please call security because it was mine. I had
My
it first.
son is waiting on this
I
iPad.
don't
This is
care.
his.
Get your hands off me.
If we have some trouble here, I need you over here at aisle 7.
Okay now, okay now. Y'all now settle down now here. What seems to be the problem?
This
This
lady's
is my
crazy
iPad.
here.
Lady, what's the problem?
I had it first. She came up and tried to grab it out of my hands. It's
So
mine.
this is my iPad again. I have a 13-year-old
Yes,
who's
I
waiting
don't
on
care.
this.
I don't
I've been in
care.
line for 15
She
hours.
is an upstanding member of our community.
Oh,
She
okay.
is the president of
PTA.
PTA.
Oh, the PTA! Okay. You know little Johnny? Oh, that's my son. Yeah, I'm proud of that boy.
Who cares?
I
I'm
sure
the
is.
PTA.
Well, let me ask you a question. So what is it that you'd like me to do about this little here young lady?
I think you should just get rid of her. Take her out. Take her out.
You want me to get rid of her right now?
I had it
No, escort her out, please.
All right.
Come on, Barney. You're just a grandpa. You don't.
What?
It doesn't.
What?
Nothing happens here.
What? I'm sorry.
You have no
Can you speak
jurisdiction
into
here.
my good ear?
You're a rent-a-car.
Oh, no, she called you a rent-a-car? That's not gonna work for me, man.
Okay, audience, what do you think? Do you think that was leadership in action? Yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
It was leadership in fact.
All right, Sarah, go ahead and stand up. What's your name?
Ross.
And why do you not think it was leadership in action?
I think it's based on favoritism.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks for your opinion. We really appreciate that. Go ahead and sit down. And how about you, ma'am?
I think that it was, there was no leadership in that scene.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we go ahead and take another look?
Welcome to Walmart, all you Black Friday customers.
Oh my gosh. One iPad left. Oh,
It's
this is perfect.
mine. I've been in line for days. It's mine.
I'm sorry, man. This
No,
is
no, it's mine. It's mine.
I'm sorry. I think I had it.
Yes, you are sorry, but it's mine. you the other day.
Oh, it's so nice to see you again.
You had to give it on. I love what you said. Yes. Wait a minute. What? Let's think of a solution here.
Yes, I'll take it.
Something
You
that we
have
can
your
all
office.
agree on, okay? How about, what if, just one of you got this last
Yes.
iPod, and the other one, maybe perhaps, you can get a rain check?
Rain
Like that? And,
Okay, can you explain the rain check a little bit more?
well,
Exactly, will it be the same one?
The same model, but you won't have to come back.
So it's
It
mine.
can be mailed to you, or I tell you what, I'll take it to the next PTA meeting. How about that?
I think I
Does
can.
everybody agree?
I agree, it's mine. I'm
Are
good
you
to you.
okay with
I'm okay with
that?
that.
Okay, great.
She
Well,
works for me.
Merry Christmas.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy holiday.
All right, how about that? Now, was that leadership in action, folks? I think it was. Now, for all of you in America, if you think that was leadership, you can dial 1-866-WIN-WIN right now. The polls will be open for the next 24 hours. And for those in my studio audience, can you show me if you think that was leadership in action or not? Now's the time to vote. Okay, we got some yeses, we got some yeses. Okay, keep those yeses up high for me, please. Okay, ma'am in the back here, little young lady, can you stand up and tell me your name, please? That would be you there, young lady. I'm sorry there now, what was that, ma'am? What's your name?
Tiddlywink,
Tiddlywink. Okay, now, why is that a yes? Why was that a yes for you?
because everybody executed it very nicely.
Okay, so they communicated. Okay, thank you for that. I saw another yes over here. Shamir's, yes, ma'am. What's your name?
Jennifer.
Jennifer. Okay, Jennifer, and why did you say yes?
Well, I said yes because I thought they showed the skill of coming to agreement using, not necessarily accommodation, but they all agreed on something that everyone got what they wanted.
Okay, great. So like a win-win right there. Okay, well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you voting. So stay online. You can vote for us online, or you can vote for us over the phone. All right, and now a word from our sponsor.
Conflicts at work are often caused by confusing roles and responsibilities. Make sure you create clear directives that include who, what, when, where, and why. Assumptions and expectations are another cause of conflict, so make sure that you ask open-ended questions to see whatever an employee is filling in details or on past experience, or whether they're seeing something that you actually aren't seeing. If the core values of your staff members are not being met, this may also be cause of conflict in the workplace. You need to determine what's most important in an employee by uncovering his or her values. Use the insight to help them create lasting solutions based on what will satisfy all parties involved. As a leader, you need to understand that each person has their own lenses that they see the world through. You want to try and see the world through their lens. When emotions are high, reasoning is very low, as we all have experienced in the past. When you see someone crying, you don't want to go up to them and start trying to figure out why they're crying in your workplace. You want to wait until they're finished crying, try to figure out at that time what actually caused them to cry. That's when you go up and you try to start the conversation and say, hey, what's going on? Is there something I can help with? And go into it at that time. Find out what caused the conflict in the first place. As we all know, the cliques and gossip are something that happen in the workplace. We know that there's always going to be those certain people that group up. So as a leader, you need to try and use those group dynamics to your advantage. You want to try to use that power in a way that is advantageous to you as the leader. And as the team leader, you can do that. You can put those people in teams. You can try to get those people to do things as a group, and you can actually incorporate other people into their group and try to include them into their clique. And maybe that will cut down on the gossip. Miscommunication is something that we all experience on a regular basis. So, as a leader, you want to make sure that all of your communication is clear. One of the things that I've found as a leader is that you can always cut down on miscommunication through written communication as well as verbal. If you verbalize something, then going back and emailing it to ensure that the people understood it is a way that you can do that. But also, you want to make sure that you're phrasing correctly. You don't want to say, whenever you get to it is okay, or whatever you think. Those aren't good ways to say something unless you don't care when they get it done and you really don't care how they do it. If you want it done a certain way or you need it by Friday, you need to say, I need it by 5 p.m. on Friday. And you need to say, it needs to be done by policy and procedure. It needs to be clear and concise. There are some benefits that we oftentimes forget about whenever you're dealing with conflict. A lot of times you think of conflict, you think, oh no, someone's going to be out in the street knocking each other out with their fists. Which, as we all know, after we've gone through the new leader program, that's not what conflict is always about. It actually increases understanding. Self-understanding as well as group understanding. Because whenever you have discussions about conflict to resolve it, you get to know yourself better. You get to know what was at the heart of the conflict, and you actually have to look deep within the group to find out how people perceive things and what everyone actually thinks. It actually increases cohesiveness, which is true. We found in our group, whenever we had the conflict, that it actually brought us closer together. It began to let us trust each other more. It helped us to depend on each other more, and it helped us learn that it was okay to get in conflict with each other because we were going to be all right. We were able to get through it. No matter what it was, we were okay. And it increases self-knowledge. It teaches you about yourself because you find out what's important to you. What values do you actually have? I know that most of us in our life at some point has struggled with, what do I want? Who am I and what is important to me? In fact, I think a lot of us struggle with that daily. I know I still struggle with it. And I'm old enough that you would think I would get past that, but I still struggle with it daily. So, we will go on to handling conflict. I know this is kind of the boring part of the presentation, and I apologize, but most of the time when you go to commercial break, it's not necessarily interesting. Even the Super Bowl this year, how many interesting commercials did you have? Zero. Anyway, there are some basic guidelines to handling conflict that we believe everyone needs to understand. Okay? First, understand the situation. In order to understand the situation, you have to actually get everyone's viewpoint on the situation. That means that, click the button again, that you have to actually go to every person in the situation. If you have Tedessa and Greg in a conflict, you can't just go to Greg and say, Greg, what is the problem between you and Tedessa? And Greg gives you his side of the story. So you go to Tedessa and say, Tedessa, quit being mean to Greg and get over it already. You've got to go to Tedessa also and say, Tedessa, what's going on between you and Greg? Then you have to acknowledge the problem. You have to actually say to both of them, hey, I understand that both of you guys are having this issue, and we're going to work it out together. And you may think this is the stupidest thing in the world. I have no idea why they're having this issue, because guess what? It may be a really big issue to them. Something that when I was a kid, I remember my mom saying to me, you know what? Wait until you're an adult. You think this is a problem? Wait until you're my age, and you've got to pay all these bills, and you've got to do all this stuff. But guess what? At 13, this boy breaking up with me was a huge problem. Now that I'm 35, I'm thinking, oh my God, that is like the least amount of thing to worry about. Okay, be patient. We all know that patience is a virtue. Some of us, unfortunately, were born without it, but we have to learn it. Avoid using intimidation. Intimidation may work for the short term, walking up and saying, look, I'm the boss, I'm telling you right now, y'all need to knock this junk off. But that only works for short term. That's not going to last very long. Focus on the problem, not the individual, and do not play favorites. Just because Tedessa may be my best friend, I can't just pick on Greg because Tedessa's my friend. I have to treat both of them fairly because I'm the leader. I'm the boss. I have to be fair to both of them. Otherwise, I'm going to get in a whole lot of trouble. Establish guidelines. Whenever you are trying to handle conflict, it's a good idea that you meet with both parties at the same time in order to talk it out. So, I always felt that it's important to write down rules that are clear and concise and have both parties agree on those rules before you sit down together. This is what we're going to do. I like the 1 minute kind of thing where each person has a minute to talk, another person listens, and then this person gets a minute to talk, the other person listens. That way there's clear goals. Or you can do, longer periods of time, depending on what the situation actually is. Keep the communication open. Even after the situation, you've talked about it, you want to still have your open door so that if they are still having issues, they can come back and talk to you. Act decisively. Once you've had this meeting, you've communicated about it, you have to make a decision. A lot of people don't want to make decisions, but once you do this, you have to act decisively, you have to get the point done, you have to get it done quickly. Otherwise, you're going to come off as looking weak, and none of us want to do that. Okay, 5 steps to resolving conflict. First, set the scene. You have to go in. You have to use active listening, as we all know what that is. You have to pay attention to what they're saying, paraphrase, eye contact. Then you gather information, understand their needs, interests, concerns of both parties involved or all the parties involved if you're talking about more people than just 2. Ask for each of their viewpoints, and confirm that you respect their opinions, okay? Then, agree on the problem that you're trying to resolve. How many times have you gone into a conflict and you're thinking that the problem is A, and really the problem is C? So you're trying to resolve something that has nothing to do with what the other person thinks the problem actually is. That's not good. So you need to make sure that both of you are working on the same problem. Then brainstorm possible solutions and be open to other people's suggestions on this. Just because it's not your suggestion does not mean that it's not right. Then negotiate a solution and try to use a win-win technique. You're already in a conflict. The last thing you want to do is try to start another conflict because you want to do a win-lose negotiation technique. Remember, be calm, be patient, and have respect for the other person. And now, back to our show. Welcome back to America's Got Leadership. Once again, I am your co-host, Argumentative Amanda. Let's see what our next leader in action has in store for us.
What do we do, ladies?
This is a down economy. I need a part-time job, all right?
You're gonna kill our image. It's disgusting.
We're professionals, you know?
We have an image to uphold.
What's the
Yeah,
problem?
look at you.
You're not giving Pat a
chance. You're not giving Pat a chance.
That looks
Pat can do
disgusting.
an awesome toe jump and we need a
Yeah, let's
foundation
see.
for our
Come on.
pyramid. Let's see what you can do. I don't know.
Oh, man.
What do you, I don't know. Oh, ladies, really?
Freeze. Okay, America, was that leadership in action? Yes or no? I'm seeing some yeses and some no's. Let's go to you. What do you think?
I think it was leadership because the instructor or team captain, she was trying to convince the others that they needed to give her a chance or him a chance. And they were judging before they really knew what he could do.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. And let's see. Who else? Who else? Anyone from the audience? Anyone from the audience have another suggestion here? All right. What's your name? Where are you from?
Betty Boo. I thought
Betty Boo.
I thought it was leadership in action, but it was quite disorganized.
All right. All right. All right, America out there. Let's see. If you think that was leadership in action, let's dial 1-800-479-LOSER. Let's take another look. Ladies, jump, jump, jump.
Oh, we're gonna do so good. Practice today. You're looking great. Did you work out all last night? Okay, you ready for that? Before we actually start practicing today, we're gonna have a new member. I want to place you very accepting of and welcome. Yeah, you gotta be able to accept new team players and help them be a part of our organization. So please, let's work with our new team members. I really very supportive of this, okay? All right, I think I see. Oh, okay, Pat. Is that Pat? Come on in, Pat. Welcome, Pat. Hi, Pat.
Hey, ladies.
Thanks for Hello. Well, Pat, we're so happy that you're here with us today. Thank you again for joining our team. Now, we have several rules that we really need to run by you so that you can understand that in order to be a part of this team, we're going to need your full participation and buy-in.
Okay.
So the first thing is that we have mandatory exercises 4 times a week. How many times? 4 times a week. And then we also require that you attend 4 practices. We are very team-oriented. What is that?
Yes.
Team-oriented.
Okay.
And we are willing to assist all team members, not just me and Carol, but everybody, all team members. And one thing that we have to mention, we absolutely must not have any alcohol.
Oh.
We only drink water. Water.
But we
Your
are
body is
truly,
your temple.
That's right, that's your temple. And we are truly committed to team what?
Team vision.
Team what?
Team vision. Let me see this picture. Give me. Give me a high. Oh, give me a half. Give me a high. Oh, give me a oh. Oh, yeah. And what do you have?
Okay, audience, what do you think? Was that leadership in action? All right, all right. Okay, well, what do you think, 5 dysfunctions of teamwork fails due to 5 different reasons. The absence of trust or the unwillingness to be vulnerable in a group. Fear of conflict or being incapable of entering into unfiltered debate or ideas, and lack of communication, where no one finds it. Avoidance of accountability, where no one calls their peers on their actions or the behaviors, or the lack of their actions or behaviors. And inattention of results, where team members put their individual needs above those of their team members. Sorry about that. Forget the clicker. Right. I actually wrote this whole quote on this slide, which I know is usually something that I wouldn't do, and I'm not going to read it to you. I think you guys are probably, able to read it. It's pretty big. So I'm just going to kind of sum up what this says. Basically, it's saying that the more an individual sees a benefit in his or her